Welcome to Trends on Thursdays, the Trends for 2020 edition, where I tell you about the macro trends for this coming year. I just rewatched my 2019 trends video, and the good news is that I'm staying behind all of them in hindsight, and I hope some of you grabbed some opportunity out there. So let's jump right into 2020. Number one, content continues to be king, and you'll have to put out more and more of it if you're trying to get any traction organically. Matter of fact, even promoted content starts getting stale a little quicker if there isn't enough of it, while at the same time, if you have loads of content, you're giving people an opportunity to binge on whatever it is you're putting out. The part that's getting trickier is to put out content that's right for each platform. Now, I'm not saying that you need to come up with something unique for each platform every single day. The trick can be to repurpose your content from one platform to the other while keeping in mind the specific audience that comes with it. This way, a podcast can turn into a blog post, Instagram post, and stories post, etc. Just remember that there should be a unique perspective that makes you different from everyone else. Capitalize on that. Number two, new platforms. I talk about new platforms all the time, and last year I told you you need to be on LinkedIn and TikTok, and guess what? That hasn't changed at all. There are some competitors emerging, and the next platform might be right around the corner, but right now those two are even more red hot than they were a year ago. While they couldn't be more different from each other in a number of ways, they do have one thing in common: they are much less toxic than Facebook. And even though that hasn't hurt Facebook much, they are a welcome getaway for many people, and therefore you need to be there. Speaking of Facebook, and maybe this is trend 2A, algorithms on many platforms are seeing human involvement again to guard against fake news, and I wouldn't be surprised if the so-called old-fashioned journalism makes a comeback courtesy of Apple, Facebook, and Google. Number three, the rise of PR. Public relations are coming back as marketers are starting to understand the value of true PR in combination with social media. An interview with an influencer, whether it's on a podcast or on a radio station, has value. And it can be further leveraged if I can use it to feed my content model that I touched on in trend number one. Of course, influencers, whether they're the old or the new kind, have to be evaluated as to what value they add to a brand strategy in terms of both exposure and legitimacy. The trick is to find the right ones and build a longer-term relationship if possible. Number four, live events. Yes, live events are a huge opportunity, whether they are educational or for entertainment. If you're in the information business, meaning you're a professional that deals in knowledge, you might be able to put on a live event or a conference. Even if you're not the only speaker, it will give you lots of credibility and clout in your industry. But even if you're not in that kind of business, there are benefits to putting on community events or even just a customer appreciation party. The goal is to bring people together that have something in common, and you get the credit for making the connection. Remember when a year ago a bunch of people were recommending your company have its own Facebook group and it totally tanked for most people? Well, this is the live version of that, and it doesn't take the daily maintenance that nobody has time for. Number five, SMS, or in non-tech speak, texting. While some older folks might not like texting and prefer phone calls, depending on what we're trying to do, texting can be super convenient, and if I'm in the right state of mind, you can probably easily to get me to opt in. Bigger car dealers have this typically figured out. They text you to follow up, make sure you have a quick way to contact them, and get really innovative with it. Shout out to Infinity of Lafayette, by the way, who not only sent me a text from the executive manager making me feel super special, they followed up a few days later with a link to a video that introduces their service manager. Texting is all about a superior customer experience, conveying quick bits of information, confirming appointments, getting me to leave a review after. The beauty is that with the help of a little bit of automation, you typically don't even have to do the legwork yourself. Number six, podcasting, and I keep saying this is a big one, and I can't leave it out of this one. Podcasting continues to grow massively, and there are only about 400,000 of what I would call active podcasts out there. This means if you have something to say, you would be almost foolish not to make it a podcast. I know it takes some time and you might not like your voice or you don't know much about audio production, but not getting into podcasting now is like not getting into YouTube or Facebook years ago. You thought about it and didn't do it, and now you regret it. Remember, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is right now. Number 7, media fragmentation continues. If you think about the number of choices we all have in 2020, it's difficult to come up with much that we all have in common. When we just have a few choices, I can neatly fit people into one category or the other. For example, people that watch a certain TV channel. That thinking continued, by the way, and people sometimes target people if they are just on a certain social media channel. Advertising in 2020 will perform much better if it's targeted based on demographics and psychographics. Whether it's OTT ads that run on Hulu and the ESPN app, or the Facebook ad network that might catch me on Instagram or Tinder, what matters is that it's the right ad for me, not so much where I'm seeing it. The media will get a few opportunities out of the continuing fragmentation as well, if they are paying attention, that is. Some TV and radio stations are doing a great job with live platforms, and the billboard industry might eventually figure out that the only thing that can't be fragmented is the drive to work. Number 8, search gets conversational. Search continues to change and will move almost entirely away from keywords. If you think about the way you search a library, you might go to a librarian and ask for a Western novel. You wouldn't ask for a book with the word cowboy in it. The librarian will give you a recommendation based on the content, not based on the words used in the book, and Google will basically head in the same direction as well. Understanding and evaluating content, no matter if you're writing like Faulkner or like Hemingway. The quick solution is, and here it is again, great content. Number 9, guided conversations. Messenger bots are expanding to include WhatsApp, texting, of course Facebook Messenger, and eventually even Instagram. In other words, where it's convenient for me to receive information. While Facebook is offering its own Messenger bot platform for a while now, there is still plenty of reasons to use a third-party app platform like ManyChat, for example. Conversation starters can be ads, commenting on posts, messaging a page. Texting is available as well. A little automation and a messenger bot can tell me my hotel room is ready, or what time my reservations are, how much a mortgage would be, and by the way, in the process, enter my email address into a database, and there's lots of exciting new features coming on this one in the coming year. Number 10, privacy. Well, as we continue living in a very connected world, our data, what happens to it, who stores it, etc., is going to be a conversation for years. As legislation is starting to catch up with technology just a bit, with CCPA going into effect on the 1st, there are still more questions than answers. We all deal with data on a daily basis, and we need to learn how to be better stewards of the data we have. From simple things like email and cell phone numbers to more sensitive data like credit cards. I still get several emails a week that are addressed to dozens of people, everyone's email clearly visible to everyone else. That's not only bad business, it's one of the lead causes of viruses spreading, because if we're in the same tool field, we're a little more likely to trust each other. Companies will need to come up with better policies to make life more private and more secure, and they will have to start now or deal with the consequences if they end up in the middle of a breach. And that's it, my 10 macro trends for 2020. I would love to hear what you think, and of course, if you have any questions, hit me up. I'll be back next week with my regularly scheduled content. Until then, I'm Tobias Wilhelm.